Thank you very much for the little recess there. That was very helpful. Okay, so I guess we have to decide phasing, what we're going to do, and what we're going to ask the city to do, or are we going to, change our minds and do everything ourselves? I think we need a motion to see whether we're going to try to do this ourselves or do it with the city and go from there.
Can I give the motion? Do you want
Sure.
Look at me.
Well,
What do you want to talk first?
well, I was just going to say, I think when Craig was talking, he mentioned like giving the city 2 months to meet with Price Fazio and really understand where we're coming from on the design. And I think that's a really great idea because he's gone. But talking to Tommy and Wayne is very informative, and they can really explain on why we chose this design. And I think to get them on the same page as us is really important. I think that's one of the main things they're asking for. And then the other thing that we need to really do, or have Wayne and Tommy do, is they really just want to see numbers from us. Like,
That's true.
much more solid than what we have. And I'm hoping, and I know we have this number here for phase 1 and phase 2 and phase 3, but like I was just talking to Joel, and I think we need to really talk to them and really try to get those numbers down, just to show the city that we're making an effort to really make sure we're doing the things that really need to be done for each phase. Like, we can wait on the clubhouse, we can wait on the tunnel, find out what equipment we're actually going to be using and purchasing, or transferring from Go Community. Look at the maintenance facility and see if it's actually going to be $2.65 million, or if we can do it for 1.8. I think those are things we actually need to sit down and really get some hard numbers down and solid, and that's really what they're looking for. That's it. The design, really understanding it, and then getting the numbers and understanding those. And I feel like if they get that and they see that we've put this all together and really worked hard at it, they'll have the buy-in to say, okay, we can say, okay, well, we want you to pay for phase 1. We'd be willing to pay for phase 1, and we will get phase 2 done on our dime. And we need to do the same thing with phase 2 to look at what things we actually need to get the price down on. And then phase 3, we can wait. Clubhouse, we can wait on that. But those are the 2 main things I think they're actually looking for.
So you're saying we should hold off on sending anyone to the workshop on Monday and possibly delay any action for 2 months?
Well,
this is not a criticism, I'm just asking.
No, yeah, I'm answering. Well, I mean, unless we can sit down, somebody can sit down with Tommy and Wayne and get these numbers worked out, like, huh?
I think they're done.
Well, I mean, there's no way to get those numbers down, or looking at, like, when you're buying a car, can we do something a little bit less in this area and get the numbers down a little bit?
Yeah.
Just showing them that we're making an effort.
I think a lot of those things depend on whether you want the air conditioner or the wheels. I'm not saying that facetiously. I mean, those decisions that you need to make. So we've allowed for let's say, the maintenance building, 11,000 square foot building.
Right.
The reason it's so big is because we're so close to the ocean. So we can cut that building in half, store half of the equipment outside, but that's your decision long term. What's going to happen to that equipment? It deteriorates more.
So we need an 11,000 square foot
What I'm
facility that we
saying is
need.
there are options. So we can get the price down, and there are ways to do that. But those are some of the decisions that you really need to make, or we need to make you aware of, so that you can make those decisions. And we can't make every single decision, or we can, but I don't know if you'd be happy with that.
Right, do you want the tires that go 15,000 miles or 45,000 miles? There's definitely money in the construction budget to go a little bit. Right, there's options. I mentioned those before, the type of bumpers you do, the car pass you do, all of those things have ramifications. There will be higher ongoing operational expenses. So cheaper initial cost, longer term.
Well, so maybe our first thing to do is to have Tommy do a presentation to City Council and go over all the design, making sure that they're understanding everything, go over the numbers and why you came up with these numbers.
Yeah, and the other thing I think is that if we did what their, let's say, idea of a design is, let's say they say, well, we think it should be X, and we went through I'm not talking a full-blown process where we do all the plans, but I think the important thing is if you look at the difference between what we're projecting the total costs are going to be and something that they come up with that's short of that. So if they're thinking of doubling the cost of Winter Park and it costing $2.5 million, you guys are on different planets. Then you're going to get less than Boca National. Let me say this. If you take exactly what's out there and don't change anything and just rebuild the golf course that's out there, it's probably, I'm just picking a number, but close. It's probably $6 million. Ours is $7 million. That $6 million golf course still has, so what did it save you on your big picture? On your 22, what did it save you? It doesn't save you anything. And what it does is it limits the amount of income for the type of people that would play that. So what we try to do is, I don't think we're very far off, but I don't think they realize what they're asking.
Right, and so that's my point, is that we need to open their eyes to see what you're saying.
Totally agree.
So that's the only way we're going to get them on board, is for you. We can tell them all day long, but we're not the golf course architect.
We're willing to do that.
So,
We're willing to do that.
so I mean, that seems to me like a path to get them on board with the design that we're doing.
Do you think that it's possible to get them on to this?
I think that their agenda for next week is probably set, so I don't know that I could certainly ask that you can come and present, but it may be at the following workshop that they can put you on an agenda. I don't know how soon that they can change that.
What they expecting us?
I thought
They're
they were,
expecting us, I don't know that they're expecting a presentation, that's all, I
Yeah.
don't know the time.
Can I make a suggestion?
sure.
So, look, I think it would be great, but quicker and easier to have the Fazio team, but they need to do their own homework. Okay, they've already engaged Winter Park and started doing things. So what we can do, so yes, they have. You listen to the meetings, they said
They were
they've
just going to call the mayor.
No, they got them coming down. So it's beyond that. So I think
Wouldn't it be
with a
quicker and
policeman.
easier to have
with the
them-
policeman, right? That's what I heard. A Winter Park policeman, but let's do this. Is that my suggestion? I think we just have to get them up to speed to it. So from a numbers perspective, Tommy and Wayne, I think, to me, the numbers are the numbers and they're done, but they are changing, which is problematic, okay? So this estimate that I have here is 26 million. This proposal says 27 million and a half. What I'm going to suggest is we got to get rid of the tough things and put them as optional. Is the tunnel it's got to come off. We're done with it. The clubhouse, it's got to come off. Those are done. We're just talking about the key components: 18 holes and a driving range and the short course. You're telling us it's 7 million. I don't think it's 7 million because we need to grow in. We need the facilities. We need all the pump house. We need all those things. So this number says 13.8. And I want to stick with one number. Now then you say, okay, that's the course that you're going towards. If you were to turn everything on today, what would you get? If you just didn't do any layout changes, cleaned up bunkers, tried to turn things on, you're still probably going to spend $9 million. I don't know. That's what they want to know. And then you get them the differential. They're saying, is it worth it? And I think you and Wayne individually can overwhelmingly convince them this is worth it, this is where you're going. but they need the opportunity and the time to meet one-on-one, because there's too many questions and all that stuff. I think it will go quicker if it's a scheduled time with you, go through it all, each of them, and then, but you got to give them time. It's not going to happen between now and the next meeting. I think putting them on the spot anymore is not going to work. They do not like being put on the spot with a, here's a team, ask your questions. We're on a whole flight pattern, people. we got to get them up to speed. So get them up to speed. So the only thing I would say for Monday's meeting is go into it with, look, we want to go with the joint venture, okay? We want to focus on the 18 holes and the East Horse design, okay? We want you to do like we've done in all our other projects. You know, our first preference is to do the construction and do it ourselves, but if you want to do it, we're open to that too. Show us what your options are. But we're trying to get agreement on the design. And then the funding part of it is a secondary part. The funding part, yes, I think we can go out and get a loan, but it is going to take time, and we would rather them fund it. And to be honest with you, I'm looking for 100% funding. We've already put $24 million and committed into it. So 100% funding is really the 15 million range. Okay? Then anything above that, we have to chip in. So we know we have about 3 to 5 million that we could contribute by the time this all comes to fruition without loans. You know, so I would be very honest with them and saying we're looking for a partnership, we're looking for, but where our focus is really the design in the terms that it's a nice course. We just don't want to have Boca Muni recreated. And Boca Muni is, look, it's no fault of the staff at Boca Muni. They have no priority in the city. If they're out west, they've always been up for sale. It's like anything that's up for sale, they don't invest in it because it's, you know, I think they've done a wonderful job of making do with what they have. They're very creative. But when we have to give them all new tools, it's the programming that we really want to have a say in. We don't need to be the builder of it. We need to be the programmer of it and have a strong say in it.
Programmer, explain, sorry.
I'm off.
Okay, programmer, as in operations?
Operation down the road. You know, to me, the programming, the success of Winter Park 9 is the programming. Red Reef could be programming. You've got some older guy out there sitting in there charging $6 for it. It is the greatest deal in the world for golf. Okay? But they didn't go out and take it another step and do some social media marketing. The city has come a long ways in their programming and all their marketing. They now have a marketing department. I think they have the capabilities to do a lot of things, but it has to be a priority. And golf is not one of their priorities. But when this is done, it will be one of their priorities. Not only that, it would be a priority for the Boca Chica community. I think the benefits to the city and the district are tremendous to get it done. But we don't need any surprises, and they don't want any more surprises.
Craig, I would concur with most of what you said, but I think that Phase 2 is extremely important in the development of the west side. So, I mean, we're in this for 24 mil already. So, right. So, you know, if the city wants to be an equal partner, I need 25 million to kind of match my 25. Or if you want to give us a grant for that sum, because I think these numbers here. There may be some movement in there, but I think Tommy once told us that he was pretty comfortable that these were good numbers. The concern you have in being too finite here is that if you get in a situation where everybody's busy and you've got a limited number of contractors, then your price is going to be a little bit higher than if you have people that are out of work and looking for business, like it was when we built Spanish River facility. So you add the 13 plus the 6, I think gets you to
2.8.
Right. So that's $20 million. I think you mentioned that number. That would be my ask.
I agree.
Yeah.
We asked for the 20 million, and in that though, they need to come back with the understanding the differentials too.
Correct.
So they're going to come back and say, well, what if we do split Phase 1 and Phase 2? And we're going to say, well, that's up to Tommy. It'll cost you an extra $1.5 million. Mobilization, this and that, whatever it is. I don't know what. And maybe it's 100,000. We'll say, oh, okay, we'll do that. But let Tommy and that Wayne have to go back and say, okay, that was something we talked about, phase 1 and phase 2. Give me a number that it really is, whatever it is. And so right now we're at 19.8 million. That's a different number than has been presented, and we can't present any other number. Okay, it is 19.8 million, period. If you want to round up, call it 20 million. We're expecting Great Value Engineering to get a competition going that could reduce it 10, 20%. It could also go up 10 or 20%. So we're asking for 20 million, and the over-under, we're willing to participate
I like that.
on it, whatever needs to happen. But they're in the best position, I think.
So, but on this though, there's no temporary clubhouse price, and there's no cart farm type thing either on here. So would the course still be operational without those two things?
You know, we haven't had any direction on the clubhouse at this point, so.
No, just a temporary clubhouse,
Like a trailer or something?
double
like they-
wide.
Yeah, certainly we can add that.
That's what I mean, like, it has to be,
Complete.
like, complete and done, and that's what they want to see. So that's what we need to give them. Or else they're gonna come back and say, forget it, like, these aren't good numbers again. Like, we can't, we need to get it done and completed and definitive on what the costs are gonna be.
Okay.
Yeah, I worked up some possible scenarios, and on phase 1 it says does not include a trailer or modified driving range and necessary equipment for those two elements. So we would appreciate something definitive there. But can we? Phase 2 would have the driving range.
My bad.
Sunspots.
Gremlins.
You know, one of the things that you guys have done for us is you've taken the time to explain to us what the underlying reasons are for the costs that you have. And I think that's where we in the city diverge. They don't understand, for example, why you have money for an 11,000 square foot maintenance facility. You just told us. And we've had experience with vehicles rusting and having to replace them just at Gumbo Limbo, which is right on the water. And yeah, it's a kind of pay for it now or pay for it later kind of thing. So I think it would go a long way toward getting this done if the council members could be educated as to what the underlying reasons are for some of these things. I agree with Aaron. We need to have a complete number. That needs to include temporary facilities as well as permanent ones. And they need to know why.
And my bad.
Should we include O&M for future and what our participation is going to be and staffing?
I think so.
Okay, so
Where are we going to go with that?
Where would we get O&M numbers from?
Well, I gave you some that, it can be anywhere from 1.1 to 1.9 million just for, an 18-hole course with a driving range and a putting area. So,
You know, a lot of that may change depending on what the city do with the project.
Yeah. So
If they take part 3 away or whatever, the whole dynamic.
no, I think the intent is just put a range. I think the bigger question is who is going to maintain it, and we leave that as it can be outsourced or by city staff.
they're going to want to know, they're going to want numbers. Yes, Sam?
Madam Chair, if I can quickly, if you look at the interlocal agreement at Article 9, if I may read it quickly, just to refresh your recollection.
Please do.
It talks about operation and maintenance. It says all operation and maintenance obligations and expenses in connection with the property shall be assumed by the district. At all times, the district shall operate and maintain the property at a level and in accordance with the standards equal to or exceeding the facilities operated and maintained by the city and/or the district. In the event the district and the city desire that the city operate and maintain the property, a separate interlocal agreement shall be entered into between the district and the city, setting forth the terms and conditions of such operation and maintenance. So there's some contemplation in the document to more than just a shaking of the hand. It's basically something more than that, depending how you negotiate the answer. It considers some subsequent document, subsequent to this ILA, to actually address the issue of O&M. So it's not a foreign topic.
Okay, Bob, would you share that with us?
Yep. In the National Golf Foundation, they did give us some maintenance cost, albeit it was on a 27-hole golf course. But I'm sure there's some similarities between that and an 11-hole short course, just to give you some ideas. I mean, they're talking about salaries and wages, $600,000. Actually, total course maintenance expense was $1.1 million. Then you have administrative and general expenses that total $595, and then of course you get into food and beverage at $740,000. So those are right out of the National Golf Foundation study that they did to give you some ideas to cost. And I think that because we have the east side there that's an unknown. I'm sure these numbers will be pretty close. Would you agree, Wayne?
Yes, I think that's the 2017 study, which may be based on the 2016 numbers. But I'll confirm that with them. So there's been some run-up since.
I think so, because the golf fees that were in here are 2016.
Right.
So.
I was looking at Golf Magazine numbers for the staffing, and just clubhouse staffing, like the pro and the assistant pro, that came to about $359, and not including the superintendent and his assistant and what have you. So we're probably pretty close with those numbers with what Golf Magazine had to say.
Maybe the safe thing to do is just use the National Foundation's numbers.
Agreed.
But, with the caveat that we've looked at it, we're still in the design phase, depends upon what you select. These are our best estimates with a big caveat, just so it addresses the question. But I wouldn't deviate from that because we already have that report. And let's not recreate this because, we don't know.
Thank you. Mr. Gorin, are you going to be the one to draw up the information that we want, or would you like our executive director to do
I
that?
think it's going to be a collaborative effort, as they say. We'll have a partnership agreement together. We'll strike a balance and get to the best answer. But again, your action's going to be taken by motion, so as you proceed by motions, we'll accept the motions and try to gravitate towards a document that responds to your motions.
Okay.
Just a thought. The
Okay.
motion in general, I'm thinking, is that you're going to go, we're going to draft a letter to the city offering a partnership pending their feedback. That would require an interlocal agreement that will define, as we've done in the past, who is the construction done by and the operating and maintenance going forward.
We won't know who the construction is going to be done by.
Right. So we don't.
I mean, it's as far as the
I think you mean
company
city oversees it
Oh,
already.
City or
okay. Sorry.
district. I think they want to know and we want to know too. So, but it starts with the design. What do they want and do we all agree or not? So once we get to that part of it, that makes it easier. If we decide that we don't agree with their design, substantially varying, and we can't reconcile that, then we're doing it ourselves if we believe strongly in it, or they're going to have their own design that says this is what it looks like. We have to make a tough decision then.
Well, they'll have to start from the very beginning then, because won't they have to go out for an RFP and interview designers and have the public coming to them and...
They absolutely would. I don't think they really want to do that. I think that it's more of an education process, but we need to give them at least a month to have that one-on-one visits, doing their own homework, have whoever they want to come down and have that internal discussion. Once they come through all that discussion part of it, I'm confident they're going to come to pretty much the same conclusions we've had, but, they have to do that. That's just part of the process.
So you're saying that Press Fazio should not do... Ouch, ouch.
Is anybody's on?
I'm off.
Sam, are you on?
It must be that one over there.
Could be.
It is.
Thank you, Robert.
There you go.
Thank you.
Good eyes.
So you're saying Price Fazio should meet one-on-one with each council person
Absolutely.
and not in
While it's more efficient in a public setting, it's whatever they want. And that right now we can't spring it on them, just give them, we're offering them all the resources we have to get up to speed and give them time.
so they meet and then we present our,
Well, we have a design that we all agreed upon, and let them come back with the changes to the design. If they don't like it, we need to find out what they want.
Connie, you good with that?
Madam Chair, if I can quickly,
Yes, sir.
the plan, quote unquote, that you submitted to the city in March was the plan you conceptually approved to be delivered to the city.
Yes,
So that is the plan that you're working from as the
Yep.
premise for the conversation.
the design, yes.
Yes.
Not necessarily the numbers as far as the costs.
The plan, the conceptual plan that you approved that the city has in its hands, that it has yet to reject formally, but hasn't accepted either.
Yes.
But we have to give them some numbers or they're going to laugh until they roll in the aisles.
We gave them numbers. I'm just saying, are these correct or are they changing? And if they're changing, we need to reduce them now.
Are they different,
They're different.
different than these numbers here?
So I think what we do is you, in your response, you give them the updated numbers.
I thought we did.
No?
They
This-
never knew.
We need to formally give them this.
So we have two sets. So we have this set that was presented, okay? And then we have this set that was recently handed out that you were working from at the meeting.
Right.
So this set here needs to be updated to add a cart barn and a temporary, it needs to be our final set. And I would, at this point, don't call it phases, just call it the sections, but put the clubhouse and the tunnel, I'd take them off the page right now. And just say there are optional things that need to be discussed later, but we've just got to get through these ones.
I have a question.
Please go ahead.
To reduce the cost at this point, I don't know if it's if you guys want to do this, but it's an option to put lighting as an option and teaching facility as an option to reduce costs, or do we want to keep it included at this point now with the numbers that we're showing them?
I would keep the teaching facility in there because I know that there's a significant interest by FAU in providing some capital for a teaching facility.
Have we gone to FAU and Lynn to discuss any possible?
I have had conversations with FAU regarding that. I have not had any contact with FAU, but I know I was on a strategic planning committee and saw a number that they had put in there for assisting with the capital on a teaching facility.
Okay, that's good.
My perspective, Bob, is they're asking us to reduce the cost, so maybe would that be a deal stopper for you if they said, I don't want a teaching facility? And by the way, why isn't FAU and Lynn putting up the money for the teaching facility? That's a natural one for an option. We're focused on 18 holes, the driving range, and the short course. So this is an opportunity to let them make some decisions on how they're spending their money. And I don't want that to stop it.
Well, one of the things we talked about throughout this process is having, FAU, Lynn, and the high schools involved in the conversation. I don't want to leave them at the altar by, taking that out. If so long as, and the number was a significant number, I might add. So I'm not at liberty to disclose that because I don't know that it's been approved, but I would If you want to drop it down there below, but I would certainly emphasize that I want to be bringing that back. I want that included.
I'm
Yeah.
with you that
Okay.
we need to have it in some way or form, but I'm just saying maybe we put these as options so they get to make some decisions on those options, and then it kind of reduces the cost. That's what we're really trying to do, is just drive this big number down. But Wayne's got-
Tommy and Wayne had another thought about that.
I think, in developing this project plan, everything is interrelated. We developed it with the National Golf Foundation, with some operational partners. So as you take the teaching facility out, so you take that revenue out. As you take the lighting out, so you take that out. So and also you take potential, not only the revenue, but also the participation of the people, the very people that you're trying to reach.
Well, can you show that? Like when you're presenting this to the city?
Oh, yeah. Just the same way as we showed you
Right.
everything that we did, why we did it, we can absolutely show them that.
Right.
You start pulling all, because I can just tell you, I've worked with people for a long time, the number that they remember is the lowest number. It's the only number they remember. So if you start to knock this number down now, and then you've got to go, you want to get some of these things back, you probably, it's going to be an uphill climb. Whereas at least if they make those decisions based on the information that we give them, then that's their decision, and they're making a conscious decision, and they know the ramifications of that decision.
So maybe just add in the temporary clubhouse and the cart barn as a added cost to this.
Well, I agree, we need something for storage for the carts. What could the solution be to that?
Just a car park.
Just like they have at Osprey?
Yes,
Okay,
sorry.
it's okay, you're still in jet lag. So you'll work up those numbers for us?
Oh, okay.
Okay. Steve?
One of the reasons I advocated doing this in phases, this is a perfect example. If we did everything else and we said, all right, the learning facility will be in a subsequent phase, we can still include it in the total cost of the project, but not build it right away. Get everything else done, get our priorities done, and then at a later date come in with, I think it's $935,000 for the teaching facility. And maybe in the interim, get the school district and the local colleges to foot the entire bill for that.
Good suggestion.
I still think it should be included in that number. For what Wayne said, once you drop the number, you have a hard time putting it back in there. And then later on, if we find out some of these numbers up here are larger than what we had anticipated, you could always pull that out and do that later.
I'm not advocating taking that out of the number. I'm just advocating doing it later. So if our ask is going to be 20 million, including the teaching facility, I'm saying let's ask for the 20 million with the proviso that that teaching facility will be built after everything else.
Well, we're saying the same thing. If we ask for 20 million and can get it done for 20 million, keep the teaching facility in there. Yeah.
They say great minds think alike, you be something different.
What about the lighting? What do you think about the lighting?
It's 1.5.
I say you keep the lighting in. For me, the lighting is important for the driving rings of the short course, and I want to be perfectly clear with the residents out there that, this course had a hotel on it, it had a restaurant. You don't have those things. We're trying to do something different, and it needs to be abundantly clear that that's in there. In what form or how it is, we have an estimate. It may be different.
I know Mr. Thompson brought up the fact that he thought a brewery might be appropriate on him. So, we don't have any plans for those other 3 parcels, and
I think what Mr. Thompson was, and I don't disagree with what he's saying, he's suggesting that there's some kind of restaurant that is that dovetails in with the programming. I think, again, we're kind of getting ahead of ourselves, because I know Mr. Kowski, when he started the project, had a number of different interested parties come to us with different solutions, some of them more robust than others, but let's not focus too much on that, because I think those are the things that hang us up. But the most important thing we want to focus on, no matter what, is the programming on the east side. And so it is not Red Reef, empty. So that is, I think, essential, and that the city has resources to do programming that, as they do at other parks, but it will be a real opportunity for the community.
the halfway house, including the restrooms, what's the projected amount of income from that versus the expenses? Yeah. I'm just looking at Tommy because I like to see him squirm.
I think you could actually take the halfway house out. It's not a big income producer, because if you have enough people with carts, beverage carts out there, you can generate that income on the golf course. The halfway house is not going to attract anybody there to eat outside of those playing golf. So I think, if you wanted to lose something, that would be something appropriate now to lose. It can always be added back later with no impact to the golf course or anything like that. And I think you could maintain your income through beverage carts.
It's a small number, but it's, every little bit helps. Okay, so we need the motion, don't we?
Great.
Craig, you're good at this.
So the motion is for our chairperson to prepare a letter that includes detailed financial costs and offer for the city to evaluate our design and meet with our consultants, any and all of them, and to a funding for a golf course as we presented, with these costs estimated to be about $20 million.
In phases. Or not. Or just-
That's up to the Fazio team. When they meet with them, they're going to show the cost differential of phasing. They'll give them different options so they can kind of come to their own conclusion, and they'll make a recommendation.
Now, I would hope that we would encourage them to consider one phase that included the driving range in the east portion of the course. That's the 20 million.
I think that
Yeah.
our recommendation is a total project right now for the whole thing,
Right.
not for bifurcation.
Yeah, and our recommendation is the use of Price Fazio design, which is,
Our
we're all
recommendation is Price
emphatically behind.
Fazio,
Yeah,
but we're open to their recommendations and changes.
correct. Support
Should
that.
we rename these phase 1 and phase 2? Because it's kind of confusing. We're asking.
Sure.
So maybe like
We can redo
west side and east side, or however we want to do it, just so that they're clear that we're not planning on doing it in phases if,
Good point.
financially doesn't work.
Got it?
It's broken up in the initial diagram, so it's here by description, and they call it phase 1, but it's all one thing. So
Okay, we just have to change the numbers.
we have to remove the other optional things and just note that, clubhouse is addressed later, tunnel is addressed later, halfway house addressed later. Those are all things we stripped out of it, so we did our part. We reduced it to one number that everyone's going to have. That's for a separate discussion.
Just to be clear, those 3 items are the ones we would address later. Just the clubhouse, the halfway house, and the tunnel are items that would be addressed. Those 3 items, the clubhouse, the tunnel, and the halfway houses are items that would be listed as something to do later.
And the entry landscaping.
entry landscape.
Entry landscaping too?
It's
Okay.
250. But I don't know where the entry is right now, so.
Does that mean the Yamato entry? That means the
Yeah.
Yamato entry?
Yeah.
No, that's not.
That's the Jeffrey Street too. When you come over Jeffrey, don't you see stuff there too?
Sorry, that's not Yamato. That's the actual.
Second
Each
Avenue?
section.
We need that.
So we need that,
Yeah.
so that should move up
Yeah, we need
into the main phase, I guess.
And then you'll get the cart storage added to that.
Adding cart.
Yeah.
And a temporary clubhouse number.
Are you finished with your motion?
I think so, but it's the chairperson in combination of whoever she wants to utilize to develop this. So, and I'm open. Is Bob doing it, or I mean,
Yeah.
Brianne is going to deliver it, but I think it's.
Well, Greg, any input from you would, if I were to confer with you, would have to be in public,
Correct.
so I'll have to use staff.
That's fine. So it's staff who.
The staff can't be an intermediary between the two of you either, so it's either going to happen here or it's not going to happen. I mean, to the extent that staff or ourselves can't be a conduit for both of you to have a conversation, I would prefer that you not wear orange as a color.
Yeah, it's not my best color. Thank you.
So our motion is that, the district will respond with a letter to the city, including these things, with a detailed financial cost, with an ask of 20 million, offering to draft an interlocal agreement,
An amendment.
an amendment to
Yeah.
the interlocal agreement that allows for a partnership. Now, we haven't gotten into the details of what that partnership is. Do you want to leave it open like that, or?
No, let's go for it. I mean, what do you guys want?
How about a 60-40 partnership?
Well, I thought we were asking for $20 million.
So you want to make it 50-50?
No, I want them to be paying for it and us to construct it.
Okay,
No, I'm just being facetious here.
I'm open. I mean, look, we have a wide range. We purchased the beaches and gave it to them. So that's option number one. The other option at the other end is they help us fund and do stuff. Okay, like they did Sugar Sand and like they did with Patch Reef. So there are two extreme options. So now we are into this project where they funded it for, I think we took a loan for 19 million.
Yes.
So if you want to call it, if they put in 19 million there, it's a 50-50 partnership. But I think they need.
No, we will eventually own that.
Well, we were into this for 24 because we've got the east side involved. So, and what is that 50-50 or 60-40? What does that give them?
I think, look, it's like all the other stuff. You're either going to run it yourself and control it, or they're going to run it. And I think we have to trust them as a partner to run it, but we have to have some design approvals to do it. So.
I think we might ought to rethink that, having them run it, because I think we've determined that, we need to have a professional person a marketing person who can run that and be creative with, getting junior golf programs, much like they do at Osprey.
So,
Sorry, I was just an idea. I don't know if it's workable, but what if we hired a golf course manager that we put an RFP out for? That we construct the RFP to include all the things we want in that person, and we bring the staff over to actually do the maintenance of this facility. This person that we are hiring is making sure that all the programming and all that is getting done, and all the maintenance is being done properly and all that kind of stuff. Is that possible?
Are we getting ahead of ourselves on that? Yeah. I kind of think that, we ought to have an idea as to what kind of partnership we want, but I don't know that it's necessary. But we're talking about giving them options. Let's hear what they might say as far as partnership. They may surprise us and say they'd be happy with us having 16 and having 40. I don't think so, but there's a possibility. If we just left that open, Craig.
But don't they want us to come to them with a number?
Well,
I think so too.
Okay, well then let's. I like Craig 60-40.
60/40
Us,
us as far
well,
as...
we have 25 in the,
Oh, you're counting the 25 into the...
correct.
I think it's important for the partnership, so it's better to both be in it, whether it's 50/50, 60/40, that's fine.
I agree. I mean, it doesn't matter to me. I mean, ultimately, the question is, with this partnership, what does that partnership actually mean? Are they sharing in the revenue?
Yeah.
Are they sharing in the losses? When the bond is paid off, does the property, according to the ILA, reverts back to us? Within 60 days after paying it off, we now take title. The city gives us title to the golf course, to the west portion.
It's all the same group, so it's, I mean, for most residents, they don't know about the district or the city, it's all one big government. So I would say we all share in it, you know, we want to go up to the bond payoff, but it depends who's doing the construction project work.
Well, 50/50, everybody comfortable with that?
I'm comfortable with 50/50, but someone needs to be in the driver's seat, and that's,
51.
one person has to be accountable. That's right.
51%.
Well, if we took the numbers strictly by us already committing 25 million to the project and our ask being 20 million, that comes out to approximately 55% in our favor, 45% for the city. And on that basis, we can ask to be in the driver's seat. I agree with Aaron. We need an independent overseer who's got experience in running golf courses. All due respect to the city personnel at Boca Muni. We need somebody in charge who's got a winning reputation. And with all due respect to Boca Muni, it has not made money. So I'd like to see an independent, I'd like to see the board hire an independent golf manager to do something that Aaron's been bringing up for a while. We are going to need a superintendent sooner rather than later. And these are all things that need to be included. But I think 55-45 might be an appropriate number.
Craig, if necessary, I mean, we could put in this letter of commitment that it would be our plan that we would hire an independent operator to run the course. If they want to know all the details, I mean, that would be our plan, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I think we're not in a position to have a big staff.
Right.
And paying them and payroll and everything, so it's either the city or it's an independent operator.
Right.
Bottom line, though, is we share in the profit and losses. 55-45 is fine with me. So I think that's how we got there, and I guess they have something different.
All right. So include that in your amending your motion to say that. Is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Okay.
Exactly.
Is there anything else you want into this motion?
I don't think so.
A year's worth of cheeseburgers?
Jeez. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion?
Just one quick
Sure.
thing.
Absolutely.
Do you, and just putting this out there, do you think it's a good idea, though, to go to them with Price Fazio, explaining everything, asking them for approval, and asking them for the funding at the same time, before they've even approved the design? I mean, I want to get it done and ask for money as quick as anybody else.
Well, I have it on good authority from somebody that they want numbers.
Right, but I think they need numbers on like exact construction costs and all that, but we're just gonna go to them and say this is what we're asking for straight? Yeah.
I think we're including in there the Fazio design team, but we're going to give them the time to go through and meet with the Fazio and any one of our consultants to get them up to speed. So if they have changes or they have another design, that's fine. Let them come forward with it and present it to us.
Before we give them the numbers,
No, we can give the numbers now. I think we go with the numbers that we have. We've done enough work on this, that this is the golf course. We just found out it's $20 million, okay? That's it. Plus or minus 10%, you got a $20 million. It's not unreasonable given what we built out, Countess de Horney, or predecessors to me, built out Countess de Horney for 14. This is far bigger. It's 3 separate controlled units basically divided, so it makes sense. It's reasonable, it's rational. Now we're saying we need $20 million. They will be the ones to fund it. We haven't, if they agree with that design, we're open on design changes if they want to do something, but we're going to show them what the cost of those are. And as they go through it, they're going to say, well, I don't like this part, that part, and they say they take it out, now they have a $12 million course. We will look at that and say, gosh, we don't like that part of it. Well, what are you willing to fund? $12 million. Well, that's a different answer then. If they really feel strongly on it, we say, well, how strong do we feel about it? That's where some trading will go on. But I mean, I'd like to have the full design, and supportive of it is $20 million. We're offering them the 55-45 partnership with the district being the 55. We're saying we're going to get a third party to operate it. They share on the profit and the losses going forward.
We don't have the temporary cart barn and the pro shop, which would be a...
Well, I'm assuming that is in there. You got to have everything in there.
Maybe over to
No, because we took out we took out something there. And
the halfway house.
The halfway house. So to me, you're...
But that wasn't in the 20 million. That was in phase 3.
Phase 2 and phase 1 together are 19.7 million. Plus we have to add in the temporary clubhouse and
Temporary cart barn.
When can we have those numbers?
Wayne?
Sorry. Are we by the end of this week?
That's fine. Just I would go with we want to have the right thing. So you're going to have a temporary trailer. How much can a temporary trailer cost? I mean, $100,000. That's a rounding error. This thing. As far as the cart barn goes, another $100,000. So it's not material for this discussion. So you need to have it in there though.
If we're going to give the city a letter with a number, do we want those numbers included?
Yes.
So we're saying we can't do that now till the end of the week.
Well, I think it's okay. You just have to, the letter says, here it's 20 million, .2. Here's the attached schedule. You're waiting for the attached schedule. Okay. The schedule is going to come from Wayne, and it's just one of the attachments.
All right.
As a casual observer of it, I think it would be unwise to cast any aspersions on the current manager of the Boca Municipal Golf Course and imply in any way he's not doing a good job, because you've already determined that the reason that the existing golf course was not financially successful was because of the lack of financial support for the entity. And I don't want to see that particular individual who's over there in any way feeling like somehow he's being singled out as the cause of the losses or lack of activity at that golf course. Because I can tell you from personal experience, he is not.
So do we leave out the management part?
Well, I think in the management part, you could include existing personnel in your evaluation. I don't think
I'm fine with that.
should just strike it.
Well, we were just talking about an independent operator, that include management and his employees, one of which could be the Boca Municipal. I agree. As I said earlier, I think that the city just wasn't putting the money in. It wasn't anything due to the management or the personnel out there at all, as far as the maintenance.
And I just hope that the conclusion that you reached earlier, that they didn't have an interest in operating the golf course, does not carry forward to this golf course where they don't have an interest in this golf course as well.
I
Thank you.
Correct, I agree with that. And I do believe that the person out there has done the best he could possibly do with the resources. It has never been a priority. And because it's never been a priority, that's why we want to have the leadership role in it. We do not want to recreate, I said this from the beginning, to recreate Boca Muni in the east. Not that it's a bad course, it's just there is no attention given to it, no money. So, and that's true when you're selling anything. They just didn't take care of it. So,
Individuals.
yeah.
Sam, have you got all that?
I generally have, I do have a procedural question though. To the extent that there's a motion on the table, on the floor to be considered by the commission with various subparts, which I assume will be, if it's adopted by the commission, this evening will result in a letter signed, I assume, by the chair to the city. Have you contemplated, or does that motion include appearance next Monday at the workshop that they're having, or is this in lieu of the appearance next Monday?
Well, Brianne said that it wasn't on their agenda for the workshop?
I don't know what's on their agenda.
Okay.
I think that I don't know what's on their agenda. It's not published on their website right now, but I think that there's an expectation that we go.
I perceived from the meeting last week that there was a perceived notion that someone would be there on behalf of the district. And if that's the case, this letter shouldn't be misinterpreted as the be-all and the end-all. It's simply an opening offering, as it were. And to the extent that they expect some kind of presentation, I think we should be prepared with our consultants to be able to do that, if need be. Unless they choose to simply accept the letter, thank us very much, and suggest that they'll study it and get back to us, which I don't think is the case either. I think there's a fast-moving train to some degree, and there's an expectation that we be committed to the process.
I agree with you, that they're expecting
Something.
something substantial. Craig?
Maybe not of me. I mean, I hear you on that. I think someone there needs to be from the district. Whether, Bob, you accepted the delegation last time, would you want to do it this time?
You know, Craig, as a treasurer, you'd probably be the better spokesperson.
Well, Susie,
I agree with Bob. Totally. You have
I don't know if
come
my
up with
calendar's
some
like
great
that.
ideas tonight. What's your
Okay.
schedule like, though? You're a working man. You have a responsibility at NCCI, so.
They spoke of the afternoon as the appropriate time, Monday afternoon.
On the 10th?
Yeah, they didn't say what time, but they were talking about after lunch, after a break. That was my notes reflected
The
that.
workshop starts at 2.
Okay. I can do the afternoon on the 10th or the 11th, I'm sure.
It's the 10th.
10th. There's nothing on the website that indicates that they're...
It would be our preference, I think, to be able to present to that, at that workshop at that time, because we could have, some or all of our consultants there,
I wouldn't.
if that.
I think when you look at their type of agendas, they have so much on there. This is just one piece of it, and we got to be on their schedule to get them to be bought into it. And there's a lot of individual questions, and it's just going to. I mean, trust me, it would have been ideal if you were able to present and ask all the questions there. I'm just not sure if this is the time. I mean, one person should be there, either you or Tommy, for sure.
Well, what if we try to make arrangements for them to meet with city council people this week, if that's possible?
No, I don't want yes, I think we start with that, but I don't want to force this issue. I think we need to kind of, if they're available, we want to meet with them, we'll do it. If you can meet with all of them, great. But if you can't, we need to give them plenty of time to go look at all the things and ask. If they meet too soon, then they're still going to go meet with other designers and developers. They need to do that first, like we did, because we went through this 19-person or architect review, and then we had a second round of interviews, and that's where the real tough questions came about. So they need to get up to speed on it, and you learn through the consultants and the vendors.
I think we should have a phone call made to the mayor and explain what we're prepared to do and find out what their preference is, Greg.
That's fine.
So if all they want's a letter, and then they'll deliberate on that at the council meeting that next night, then we'll know what their preference is. I mean, we're all about giving them the opportunity to kind of guide this thing. So
The most important thing in that letter was the numbers and the ask.
Right.
So I think we've identified that. The next part of it is the design, the buy-in part of it. That's going to take a little bit of time. So we're just going with what we already validated.
But just in case they do want someone there on Monday,
We need either Tommy or Wayne. And
Yeah, we can both be there.
okay,
Yeah, that's,
I'll go with you. I'll be there with you.
But let's call ahead and make sure that we're giving them what they want at this workshop.
Yes.
Okay.
okay? Any more discussion before we vote?
Question, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
In the context of appearance, I think you clarified who you would choose to appear here, the commissioner as well as our outside consultants. Do you want the letter delivered before the Monday meeting?
Absolutely. Thank you.
That was the clarification.
Yeah.
So there's a letter in their hands, which is not just a predicate, but it's also your solution for the response to their questions of last week, or at least a proposed solution or response.
If it's possible, yes.
Yes.
It's fine, I'm fine. It's fine.
The red light's on, but it's not working so good. We will work with the motion that is adopted by the board this evening. We'll certainly work together with the Brand and get a letter out as soon as we can to the city. Assuming that they accept it, the same good faith in which it's being offered, they will also, in the letter, we would request our appearance on Monday consistent with the council's request for us to be there.
Thank you, Sam.
Confirming that.
So, no more discussion, or does anybody else? Brianne, do you have anything?
No.
Okay. All in favor of accepting the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. That was unique. Should we go through these board letters? Or do you want-
Yeah, I agree.
Just wait. Okay.
I would think.
We have invoices.
You have invoices?
Madam Chair, I'm not going to be too bold here, but if I may quickly offer, if there was a proposal which is available to consider this evening in the context of this letter, which is the Ford and Associates proposal, do you wish to consider that publicly at this point, or do you want to defer that to a later time?
Commissioners, have you had a chance to look at this Ford and Associates letter?
No.
No.
Now, this is the same firm that we engaged before, was that right, Sam?
That is correct.
And the purpose of this firm as a financial advisor is to guide us in the respect of if we were looking to borrow funds or...
Or to assist the board. I'm not their agent, by the way,
Right.
but in the context of a presentation which the commissioner may make on Monday, having a potential outside source and financial advisor to help them would put some solidification or with some credence, so to speak, to the fact that you're serious about your financial relationship.
It's a good suggestion.
If it'll help Mr. Kosky and others in their discussions.
Would you like to,
Can I make a motion?
please do?
So I would make a motion that the board offers authority for us to enter this after our meeting next week with the city. It's basically saying that we're okay but we want to find out a little bit more discussion of how that goes. I don't want to be, telling them we're going a different path. If they sincerely, and we all come to a happy conclusion on this, we don't need to spend the money, we don't need to enter into it, but I think it's a good option to have. Is that kind of, what's your thoughts?
What about bringing it up at the next meeting? We should have some answers.
Your call.
Is there any limitation to the letter or the engagement?
I don't believe so.
Yeah, I think Craig is right. I mean, if we elect to go in a different direction after our meeting with council, I mean, this would certainly be an advocate for us and would certainly, I would encourage us. If we don't need their services, I would hate to commit ourselves to, sign the agreement.
If your financing is city-driven, then the answers are correct.
Yes, right.
You won't know that till you know that.
Right.
So why don't we just wait till the next meeting?
Brianne, let's
We need
put
it
it on
now.
the next, as a next agenda item, please.
I would agendize it, if I may, Madam Chairman, to the extent that the city council inquires of your financial assistance from a third party giving you assistance professionally, the answer is that you're considering that, depending upon their response to the proposed letter that they'd have to consider.
I like that. I don't know that I could repeat that, but to the city council.
We'll be able to do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So there's no motion on the table, or what are we doing?
It'll be on the next agenda for consideration, but you can advise the city council that you're considering engaging a third-party financial advisor depending upon their response to the letter. Good faith.
Okay. Mr. Ernst, page 10, approval of payroll and invoices.
I'd like to make a motion for the approval of invoices in the amount of, make sure I got the right one. No, I don't. Bear with me 1 second. It is right, okay. For the amount of $1,580,742.12.
Second.
Discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Motion passes. Joanne?
That does include almost 1.4 million of debt service payment for the golf course. So we do pay our bills.
Yes, we do. We both signed that check. Brianne, interim director.
I have nothing new to report, just,
Sorry.
nothing new to report, just an update on the Petrikowski lawsuit that they will cover.
Okay. District council.
Speaking of Patrick Council.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Commissioners, good evening. As Ms. Harms just indicated, just a brief update on the Petrikowski matter, which I know came up earlier this evening. Just by way of an update, on May 10th, there was a final judgment entered in favor of the district. This was based on a stipulated agreement that the board had previously considered, which we previously presented to you. As part of that agreement, part of that judgment, the defendant, Mr. Petrikowski, and his company, Coyote Coastal, has agreed to vacate the property and remove all equipment and materials that he's been storing there by August 1st. As part of that process, Brianne, along with Tracy DiCarlo from our office, one of our litigators, is going to go out to the property on Friday to conduct a site inspection, take inventory of all of the property that's on site. As you may recall, we've previously been on the property with Ms. Harms to do a preliminary review prior to filing a lawsuit. At that time, we did not have access to the sheds that are actually more than sheds. They're pretty sizable barns on the property. So we don't know at this point what's contained within those barns. I believe there's 2 of them, along with about a dozen vehicles and some other equipment that we all know is stored out there. So the intent is to go and take inventory on Friday, get a sense of what Mr. Petrikowski actually has there, what is in fact his or affiliated with him. He'll remove all that by August 1st. To the extent that anything remains on the property after that date, the district will have full opportunity to go in, clear the property, to essentially confiscate and collect anything that remains and sell it at the to the district's benefit should you choose to do so. But come Friday, we'll have a better sense of what inventory actually is there and what we'll be removing by the August 1st date. And the order provides for remedies for the district in the event that anything is not removed as of that time. So that is our latest update. We appreciate your time.
So,
Thank you.
one question for you,
Yes.
Jake. Would it be possible to have the demolition group go out there with it? Because I'm assuming we're going to have it all removed, so you're only going to get one shot at going in there, and I don't want to wait till August 1st.
Well, whatever's there August 1st, it essentially is being considered abandoned. So if anything is there after August 1st, we have an absolute unequivocal right to go in and clear the property, irrespective of any ownership interest Mr. Petrikowski may claim at that time. So under the terms of the order, come August 1st,
Right.
and essentially we can do with that property as we choose.
I guess where I'm going is I was thinking that maybe we could have whoever our demolition or removal team give us an estimate with you while you're going through it. At least have someone from that, a third party, go through there to say, what is this all going to cost to remove come August 1st? So
Craig, we were thinking of considering using the contractor who would be doing the golf course construction to do that demo and include that in his estimate or her estimate instead of using MDS.
Instead of MDS. But MDS gave us an estimate of 70,000, was it, for that?
It was
or-
over 80.
Over 80.
But that was while the equipment was still on site with the
Right.
vehicles, the boat, and all the other materials
Okay.
still out there.
That's fine.
It's a good idea, but
Thank you.
anything else?
think I've said enough.
Oh, you've been great. No, it's been great. Mr. Ernst, anything? Any reports? Aaron? Steve?
I'm good.
Bob?
Good.
I only have one thing. I did go to the turtle release at Gumbo Limbo on Thursday. It was wonderful, and I encourage everybody to participate if they have the opportunity. The officials at Gumbo Limbo treat us like we're royalty. They give you special parking places and upfront observations, so it's definitely worth the effort. So, any future agenda items?
Yes, ma'am. Where are we with the budget?
Great question. I've had a preliminary budget discussion with Michael, and I've seen a draft of the budget. I have sent some questions back. We're waiting to get those reviewed by the city, and then we'll. I have no idea why she does that sometimes. Anyway, we are working on getting some of those questions answered, and then we'll move forward with getting a presentation together.
Yeah, last year we had a executive version of the budget. I want the full-blown budget for each one of the commissioners.
Okay.
That gives us the backup and all the details on the ask that they're making of us.
Okay.
Thanks.
Will you have some information on that penny tax too?
The city actually has a page on their website that I think I gave you the link to that, but they have a lot of projects that I can certainly get that available to everybody and send a link out to all their penny tax projects.
You're up.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Yay.